Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. This episode stars Dan-oherlihy in a dramatization of the Rudyard-Kipling story, The Man Who Would Be King. It was broadcast on May 31st, 1959.
Suspense. And the producer of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, the master of mystery and adventure, William N. Robeson.
A man must be born to be a king, or trained for it. Daniel Dravett and Peachy Carnahan had neither qualification. Indeed, all they had was ambition. But they made it, and they learned the hard way that uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. Listen then as Dan-oherlihy stars in Rudyard Kipling's great story, The Man Who Would Be King, which begins in just a moment.
This is Frank Knight speaking for Longines, the world's most honored watch. It's wonderful to win a Nobel Prize in Science, a Pulitzer Award in Literature, an Olympic gold medal in sports. In the field of time, did you know that Longines watches have won more great public honors for excellence, elegance, and accuracy than any other watch in the world? This is true. For close to a century, the highest authorities have ranked Longines watches as the finest achievement in the science and art of watchmaking. Yet, for a surprisingly modest cost, you may own or proudly give a Longines, the world's most honored watch, the world's most honored gift, styled with distinction, cased in precious metal, promising a lifetime of faultless timekeeping. See your authorized Longines Whitnor jeweler. He will be honored to serve you.
And now, The Man Who Would Be King, starring Mr. Dan-oherlihy. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
It's dull and lonely standing the dog watch in a newspaper office any place in the world. But in India, in June, it's all so hot and stifling and very quiet. I was so occupied one night with nothing more important to do than wait for some trivial item to clatter over the wire from Europe, when my office door slowly opened, and a ghost, stood there. His cheeks were deep hollows above his staring round eyes, and his clothes were rags hung on a frame of bone.
You don't know who I am, do you?
No, I haven't the faintest idea, but here, you'd better sit down, old fellow. You look in a bad way.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's a whole year I've been walking. Right here in this very office, we settled it. You sitting right there and giving us the maps and laughing at us because we wanted to be kings. And so we was. We was kings. And you've been sitting there all that time. 3 years.
No, a man couldn't change that much in 3 years. You're not Peachy Carnahan.
Yes, and I was the king of Kafiristan. Me and Daniel Dravett, real crown kings we was. Just as true as gospel.
What in the name of heaven have they done to you, Peachy?
Peachy? I knew Peachy Carnahan once. He's a king. Wears a real golden crown on his head. So help me, he does. He's dead now, though.
No, you are Peachy Carnahan.
Yeah. Look, you've got to keep looking into my eyes, and maybe everything won't go to pieces.
All right. Now tell me what happened, Peachy.
Well, we left that caravan we was traveling with at Jagdala. We struck off into the hills alone.
Go on.
Oh, weeks it was we travelled. First, there wasn't no roads, and after a while, no food. But there was always the drums.
Yeah, move along there.
They're done in and starved the same as ourselves. They'll go no further.
Well, then we'll go on without him. I've not come this far to die on the side of a mountain.
Wait. Look, Daniel. Over the edge of the rocks.
What?
Oh. Men they are. There's a score or more of them. And look. One is going ahead of the rest.
And nothing but bows and arrows. Make out a pair of the rifles, Peachy.
Right you are, Daniel.
It's now that we start to become kings.
Aye. Here you are.
There. Now then, Peachy. I'll drop the straggler at the rear first, and then we'll lay a few at their feet. No harm to the one in front. We may need him. Yeah. Now. There, I've got him by the old neck.
Hold it, Daniel, hold it. Hey, look at them.
Aye. Flat on their blooming faces.
Their leader. He's coming out alone.
I await your commands, O ye who speak in the voice of thunder.
By the Lord Harry, Peachy, we're in luck. That's the old Afghan tongue he speaks. Speak up. Who are you? Where do you come from?
I am High Priest and Chief of the village of Baskai. A journey of only a few heartbeats.
What's your name?
Mazul Khan Jabdalu.
That's too long. What do we call him, Peachy?
Do you know, he has the look about him of an old soldier and friend of ours.
Huh?
Billy Fish.
Oh, so he does, yeah. We bestow a name on you. From now on, you'll be Billy Fish.
As you command, I obey.
All right. Then put this on your drums. Tell them 2 kings have come out of the mountaintops. 2 kings that speak in words of thunder so the earth trembles. Tell them 2 kings have come to Kafiristan.
By the way, in this episode of Suspense, I left in some of the commercials to give you an idea. And the spot here was one of those commercials that we can't run, one of those cigarette commercials. But we're going to do our commercials right now. May 31st, 1959, Suspense. Rudyard-Kipling's The Man Who Would Be King. That's up, and we'll have that more following these messages on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. 5 years earlier, Dan-Oherlihy was nominated for the Oscar for the lead role in Robinson Crusoe in 1954. He was also in Failsafe, Waterloo, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, The Last Starfighter in 1984. He was the old man in the 1987 RoboCop and its sequel, and Andrew Packard in the TV series Twin Peaks. Dan-Oherlihy, not to be confused with Ed Herlihy, who did the commercials for Kraft, over the years on television and radio. Now for May 31st, 1959, Dan-Oherlihy starring in The Man Who Would Be King, an episode of Suspense.
And now, starring Mr. Dan-Oherlihy, Act 2 of The Man Who Would Be King.
And you, Peachy?
Daniel, why are you sitting here in the dark?
I've been thinking. A man has to stop and think sometimes.
About anything special, Daniel?
Look at them, Peachy. Look at their blinking campfires gleaming in the dark like the jewels in a crown.
Yes, Daniel. You done a fine job for sure. All 23 villages get joined together as one.
They're ours now. Every man, jack, woman, and child. We own them, body and soul.
Aye, we're kings now, Daniel. Not proper kings yet, but we will be.
Sooner than you think, Peachy.
Huh? How's that?
Billy Fish told me something today that fair amazed me. These people know the craft.
What? You mean that they're Freemasons?
Oh, Daniel, it can't be possible. So help me, it's gospel true. He give me the grip and everything. It's old masonry is. It's older than the memory of man. And up here in the hills, they've been preserving it all these years. Yeah. Well, why, some of the high priests know up through the feather craft, but they don't know the third degree. See it, Peachy? They don't know the third degree, but we do.
Daniel, what is it you're fixing to do?
Do? We're going to be proper kings. We've got 'em going and coming. Now, I'm going to turn the whole country into one grand lodge, raise some of the priests to third degree, and for me, I'll be the Grand Master of Kafiristan.
You haven't got the right to. We never been officers in no lodge.
Yeah, right. What's a king got to do with asking for a right?
I'm against it, Daniel. It's no good to go fooling around with the craft.
You talk like an old woman. The thing will work, I know it will. We'll make it a blooming ceremony. Regular aprons with the symbols and the marks. All for us, Peachy. The kings of Kafiristan.
Everything is prepared, and the priests and the people wait.
Well, they haven't much longer, Billy. You know, Peachy, how do you like my apron?
Oh, it's a wondrous sight for fair, Daniel.
Yeah, it's made of white ermine skin, it is, and the master's mark with emeralds. Come along now. You ready, Peachy?
Right with you, Daniel.
Then out we go and onto the temple steps. Oh, we'll give them what for. Knock their blinking eyes out, that's what we'll do. Look at them, Peachy. Right down on their blooming knees and yelling their foreheads off.
Oh, tis a good thing to be a king, Daniel.
Stand where you are, Master. They recognize the mark.
That great stone in the floor. Why do they turn it over?
Wait.
Speak up, Billy Fish. What's the meaning of it?
See for yourselves. Look.
Daniel. Carved on the back of the stone.
Yeah. It is the master's mark, all right.
And the same as the sign you wear. Only a few of the priests have known of the hidden mark on the stone.
What does it mean?
The many who have doubted you were a god doubt no longer.
Now, and you, Billy, what do you think?
I, Master, I think that now it is the time for these.
Daniel. Golden crown. How they glitter. Fit for the brow of a king.
Oh, 'tis what we come for.
Here now, put 'em on, and we'll crown ourselves in our own right. Listen to 'em. You know something, Peachy? We come here to be kings, and that's what we are, all right. But blame you if we ain't a couple of blooming gods to boot, with 1 million people bowing on their knees before us. Mark that wind outside, Peachy. Winter's about due to strike and fill the trails with snow. There'll be a little moving about before spring.
You're right.
Yeah, I've been thinking. A man gets lonely in the winter and cold.
Aye.
So, Peachy, I've decided to take a wife.
A wife? Who?
My room. The girl who brings the food. Oh, she's a well-favored wench.
But you can't do it, Daniel. We made a contract with each other.
That was until we was kings. Well, kings we've been these many months now.
It's no good. It's no good. I'll tell you now I'm against it.
Against it? You was against using the craft, too. But look what it done for us.
This is different. Billy Fish will tell you no the same as I do.
Billy Fish, yeah. Who's the king here, him or me? Me mind's made up. 3 days from now, I shall have me a wife. And you can put it on the drums and tell every blighter out there in the hills the kingdom of Kafiristan is going to have a queen. Yeah, what's keeping her, Peachy? They should have brought her in here half an hour ago.
I don't know, Daniel.
How about you, Billy Fish? You put them up to stall and off deliberate like?
Certain preparations must be made, Master.
She's across the court with some of the priests. Maybe they're trying to hearten her up a bit, Daniel. She thinks she's going to die, you know.
Die, indeed?
Master, it is against the laws of heaven for a woman to marry a god.
I'm not a god. I'm a man. You know that by now, Billy.
I should not want to think so, Master. But either way, this can mean only trouble. I beg you to reconsider.
Then I beg you to shut up, Billy. I'm through with waiting. I'm going over there.
Master, please.
We've got to go with him, Billy. Come on.
Come on now, you bungling fools. Bring out the girl. Well, now, that's better. There, girl. This is no way for a bride to behave. Come on, now, smile now. You can give us a kiss. Why, that wench has bitten me.
The blood, Master. Don't let them see the blood.
Look! Blood!
Blasted, what is this rot?
Master, it is too late.
They're coming with knives.
They can't do this. I'm the king.
We've got to run for it, Master.
Come on, Daniel. Come on.
130 people killed by fire at sea, the captain dead, perhaps poisoned, and the chief engineer sat helplessly moaning and wringing his hands. Was there a murderer on board? Now, read in the latest issue of Look magazine the mysterious and incredible story of the ill-fated vessel, the Morro Castle. You folks who enjoy the action and thrills of suspense will be particularly fascinated by Look magazine's detailed report of the death of the Morro Castle. Did the chief radio operator deliberately touch off the fire, or was he really a hero? Were 130 people murdered and the Morro Castle burned to hide evidence that the captain may have been poisoned? Get the chilling answers in Look. Learn in Look about the one man on the ship who was acclaimed for superhuman devotion to duty and how he was later imprisoned for the bludgeon murder of two of his neighbors. Find out in Look how it was discovered that there was a pathological fire setter aboard the Morro Castle. Don't miss Fire at Sea in the new issue of Look magazine. It's on your newsstands now. Get Look today.
And now, starring Mr. Dan-Oherlihy, Act 3 of The Man Who Would Be King.
Confounded heathens. I'll come back. I'll come back and beat their blasted heads in. That's what I'll do.
Yes, Daniel, yes. We'll be back, all right.
How much further, Billy?
Only a short way beyond this ridge, Master.
Well, so far, so good. At least them blooming drums have stopped.
We're at the top now, Daniel.
And a right good climb it's been.
Wait. Look. It seems the drums have come before us, Master.
Cut off. No less than 1,000 of them standing there, quiet like, with them wicked long knives in their hands.
There'll be no getting past them, Daniel.
No. We're done for. Go on back, Billy Fish. Take your men away with you. Go with him, Peachy. It's me they want. I did it. Me. The king.
Now, Daniel, we made a contract, you and I. Billy Fish, you clear out.
I am your friend. I stay with you.
Oh. You're a good man, Billy.
They're coming now, Daniel.
Peachy,
No. Forget it, Daniel. I forgive you freely and fully.
Oh. All right, then let them come. There's one thing they can't change, Peachy. We've been kings. Kings in our own right. Kings of all Kafiristan.
Yes. They sliced open poor Billy Fish like a bloomin' herring, they did. There, in the snow and the rocks.
Oh, Lord, man. But you, Peachy, you got away from them.
Got away from them, did I? Oh, no. Strung me out on a tree. Drove nails right through me hands, they did. See?
May 31st, 1959, Suspense, The Man Who Would Be King on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion follows these important messages from your favorite radio station. Just going to take a minute here to tell you about the big savings going on now, the clearance sale at mypillow.com. And you know, I've talked about how in my office I have a pair of my slippers, and they're really comfortable, and they're on clearance right now. The mypillow.com slippers, $25 a pair, limit 10. And I would buy 3 or 4 more pairs. Unfortunately, they're out of my size. They also have sheets, pillowcases, clothing items, all on special right now. Go to mypillow.com, click on the clearance tab at the top of the page, use my promo code Wyatt, or call 1-800-928-4715. Limited sizes remaining in the MyPillow slippers, limited colors on other items. mypillow.com, clearance tab, promo code Wyatt, 1-800-928-4715. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. I forgot to mention this film of that Dan-oherlihy was in, along with Peggy Castle and Gerald Moore. Gerald Moore had the big leading role. Invasion USA. And if you have never seen it, try to find it. Invasion USA. Set in the Cold War, portrays the invasion of the U.S. by an unnamed communist enemy. Now the conclusion of The Man Who Would Be King from May 31st, 1959, an episode of Suspense.
But I fooled him all right, because morning came and I wasn't dead. And then I made him think that I'd lost my senses. And I was afraid to harm me, because crazy men is protected by Allah. Well, they cut me down then, and after a while, they let me go.
You poor devil. What of Dravett? What happened to Daniel?
Daniel? Daniel's a king, and he wears a golden crown.
Yes, but now, what happened to him?
He's never left me. All them long months walking on the road back, he kept me safe. The mountains, they danced at night. But Daniel held up his hand, and Peachy came along, bent double. I never let go of Daniel, and Daniel never let go of me. He's with me now, here, in this bundle. You knew old Daniel, sir. Him that was a king once. Look at him now.
Oh, my...
Oh. Well. And now, you've seen that we was really kings. Eh? I'll be on my way. You'll pardon me, sir.
I let him go. There was little else to do. He was only hours away from his death. I sat there and stared at the contents of the bundle he had left lying on my desk. Stared as the pale shafts of dawn struck fire in the red beard. Stared at the golden crown, sitting too large and too heavy upon the wrinkled, mummified head of Daniel Dravett. The man who would be king.
Suspense, in which Mr. Dan O'Herlihy starred in William N. Robeson's production of The Man Who Would Be King, adapted for radio by Les Crutchfield from a story by Rudyard Kipling. Supporting Dan O'Herlihy and The Man Who Would Be King were Lillian Bayef, Ben Wright, Jay Novello, and Richard Peel. Listen again next week when we return with Mr. Raymond Burr, starring in Edgar Allan Poe's great classic of terror, The Pit and the Pendulum. Another tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
May 31st, 1959, the adaptation of Rudyard Kipling's The Man Who Would Be King. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite station, and we'll see what's going on with yours truly, Johnny Dollar, next. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, and now another episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, set out probably on the west side of the state of Nevada here that I'm sitting in. Part 4 of the 5-part yours truly, Johnny Dollar story, The Reasonable Doubt Matter. This episode was originally broadcast May 31st, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
You're there.
Sure, I'm here. What?
I mean, at your hotel.
Is this Susan?
That's right. Why aren't you out there, Mr. Dollar?
Out where?
On the old boulder cutoff. If I'm supposed to meet you there in 15 minutes, you're going to have
Wait a minute. What the devil is this all about? Where'd you get any idea I was supposed to meet you?
From your friend.
What?
Sure, he phoned here a few minutes ago. He said I should slip away from the ranch, take the station wagon, and meet you over on the old road right away. I just phoned your hotel on the off chance that...
I don't imagine he gave his name.
No, and I didn't recognize the voice.
Susan, listen. Get away from there right away. Don't go near that road. Come straight here to my hotel. Do you understand?
Yes, but why? What's it all about?
Never mind. Just get here and get here fast while you're still alive.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location Las Vegas, Nevada. To the Home Office, Amacon Northern Trust Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, The Matter of Reasonable Doubt. It was only 9:30 p.m., less than 2 hours since I'd thrown my rock into the pool to stir up the fish. I'd expected results, sure, but not this fast, and not this deadly. I'd picked a gambling casino owner named Deuce McCoy as my broadcaster, and I'd let him know who I was, why I was here, and what I was going to do. Apparently, the news had gone out fast. But I couldn't figure this move. Even with young Susan out of the way, they still couldn't get their hands on her grandmother's estate. It didn't make sense. At least, not right then. One thing, though, that I was sure of. If Susan Gramley had driven out that deserted road alone, she'd have never come back. Not alive. Who is it?
It's me, Mr. Dollar.
All right, just a second. Well, come on in, Susan.
Thanks. I guess it's I, though. I mean to be correct.
I don't care whether it's I or me, just as long as it's you.
Say that again?
Oh, skip it. You have any trouble?
I missed the green light at Fremont and 5th.
Anybody follow you from the ranch?
Nope.
Who was there when you left?
All of them. Uncle Walter and Hilda had just come in. Together. Can you beat it?
Well, then it wouldn't have been Walter who phoned you.
Oh, not him. He's got a kind of a sneaky undertone. I'd have recognized him right away.
And you didn't recognize the voice on the phone?
No. He didn't say much, just that he was a friend of yours, and you wanted me to meet you right away, so I said okay, and he hung up.
I see.
Well, maybe you do, but I don't. Oh, what did you mean when you said, get here while you're still alive?
I wish I knew. Look, Susan, that phone call wasn't just a practical joke.
Then you do know.
I know somebody was trying to get you out on that desert alone tonight, and they weren't trying it just for laughs.
You mean they...
I mean the luckiest thing you ever did was to pick up that phone and call this hotel.
But why, Mr. Dollar? Why would anybody want...
That's what I don't know. I don't see what they'd hope to gain by it. They know the trust hasn't been set up yet. Your grandmother's still in control of the property, not you.
Look, excuse my ignorance, but I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Well, maybe it's time you did, since you seem to be right in the middle of it now. Look, your grandmother decided to set up an insurance trust and convey all her holdings over to you.
To me? Gran was going to do that.
Jonas Parks at the Flint Rock Bank started proceedings, then got cold feet. He got the idea there was something screwy behind the whole thing. So he wired Hartford, and the trust company sent me out here to investigate.
But Gran never said a word. She didn't even mention it.
She was scared to death, afraid Walter and Hilda would find out and block her off, have her declared incompetent, get control of the estate, and leave you clear out in the cold. She thinks a lot of you, Susan.
Gran's the most, isn't she?
How did she seem when you left? Back on her feet?
Oh, better than she's been in months. More relaxed. I guess she's counting on you, Mr. Dollar.
Yeah, well, I wish I could be sure she could.
Look, that phone call I got, if Uncle Walter and Hilda weren't behind it, then who was?
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty certain that by now they know who I am and why I'm here. And they know I'm out to get them. I dropped the word a couple of hours ago. I figured they'd react all right, but I didn't expect this move against you.
But there has to be somebody else in on it, Mr. Dollar. Neither of them made the phone call.
Yeah, I know.
But nobody else even knew about the trust.
Jonas Parks did, and Will Connors of the Weekly Tribune.
But they've been friends of Gran's for years and years. They wouldn't do anything to harm her.
I didn't say they would.
And they couldn't have had anything to do with the accident that killed my parents. Nobody could have, except Hilda and Uncle Walter.
Unless, of course, it was just an accident.
Oh, you know better than that, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, I'm beginning to wonder if I actually know very much about any of this. Susan, listen. How scared are you?
Oh, I'm not scared at all. I'm just bewildered, I guess.
Good. Then you won't be afraid to stay here alone for a while.
Of course not. Sounds kind of grown up, in fact.
Yeah, well, all right then. Don't leave the room. Keep the door locked and don't let anybody in. If someone should try, call the manager and have him call the police. Don't answer the phone unless it rings twice. That'll be me. Got it?
Got it.
Good. Hey, there are a couple of magazines there on the nightstand.
Can I ask you what you're going to do, Mr. Dollar?
Sure, you can ask. See you later, Susan.
Stinker.
Evening, young fella. Kind of hoping you'd drop around.
Wasn't sure I'd find you here, Mr. Connors, this time of night.
Oh, the paper comes out tomorrow, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
I always stay around late the night before press day, just in case a big story breaks.
Sure.
Got to be here, you know, to break down the front page and remake the galley and all. Them's technical terms, of course.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you might have a story for me by now. Maybe that scoop we was talking about?
Nope, not yet.
Well, I can hold the press until 9:30 a.m. in the morning, but that's the last doggone final 0 hour. And a minute later, come calamity, cataclysm, or high water, the Tribune has got to roll.
Yeah, sure. Well, maybe you'll have your scoop before 9:30, Mr. Connors.
You mean you're working on a clue?
Check.
Hot dog.
Yep, you said it.
You getting close to the denouement?
To the what?
Denouement. Yeah, that's a technical word. That's when the detective always pounces.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not about to pounce at the moment, Mr. Connors.
Yeah, well, keep your voice down, son.
Why? There's nobody else here.
You never know on this kind of a case.
Well, let's take a chance.
All right. I'm game if you are.
Good. I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask you.
Shoot, son.
You know anything about a gambler named Deuce McCoy? Owns the Lead Balloon Casino over across town?
Well, I know who he is, all right. He don't own it, though. He just runs it for a syndicate.
Works on a salary, you mean?
Salary and percentage, I reckon. He ain't getting rich on it, though. Not the way he lets it get away from him.
On what?
Just 2 words, son. Women.
Hilda Gramley wouldn't be one of them, would she?
Well, it's a new one on me if she is. Of course, you live and learn.
Yeah, you sure do.
Yeah, and be right cozy if something like that was going on. Her husband spends half his time in McCoy's place.
Yeah, I know.
You figure Deuce McCoy's tied in on this Gramley thing?
I don't know. You want to do me a favor, Mr. Connors?
Well, just sing it out, young fella, with the scoop.
Well, listen, young Susan Gramley is in my room over at the hotel.
You don't say so. Well, but
Never mind, it's a long story. I hate to have her there alone. So how about going over and babysitting for a while?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
All right, I'll phone her first so she won't lay you out with an ashtray. And I'll keep in touch with you. If there's a story, you'll get it. Meanwhile, clam up.
Right.
I'll see you later.
Yeah, do you pack a gun, Mr. Dollar?
Sometimes. Why?
Deuce McCoy does, too. All the time.
The evening was just starting in the lead balloon, with 2 crab tables already in action, 2 more standing by, and a roulette wheel warming up. No one paid any attention when I walked back through the casino to the office. I waited what I considered a reasonable length of time, then tried the knob. The door was unlocked.
Go on, Buster. Beat it.
The girl was alone in the office, sprawled back on the sofa, drink in her hand. And it was pretty obvious it wasn't her first one, nor her second or third. She'd have been a real knockout, sober.
What's the matter? Don't you understand English? I said get out.
Where's McCoy?
What's it to you?
Feeling no pain, huh?
Oh, cut it, Buster.
Must have been a pretty big pain, though, earlier, if it's taken this much to kill it.
Go on and get out of here. What do you think you are to talk like that?
Johnny Dollar, who are you?
Get away from that desk. If Deuce finds you messing around in here, he'll kill you.
Even if I told him I was a close friend of yours?
You rat. I'll call one of the boys and get you thrown out of here.
Oh, I wouldn't. Might make an awful scandal. And I don't think Deuce would want that. Not right at present.
What are you talking about?
Oh, come now. You're in it too, aren't you?
No, you're not with the police. I know them all. You're FBI.
Oh, what makes you say that?
Look, if Deuce is in a jam, I don't know anything about it.
What's your name?
Nicky. Nicky Vernon.
All right, Nicky, sit down and relax.
Whoops.
Now, where's Deuce McCoy?
Think if I knew I'd be sitting here by myself, lushing it up?
I suppose you were McCoy's girl before Hilda Gramley cut you out.
Cut me out, nothing. That rotten little sneak's been asking for it, and I'm about ready to give it to her,
Was she
too.
here this evening?
You see any blood on the rug? Just let me catch that dirty
Shut
little...
up, Nicky, and sit down, will you? Now, what about Walter Gramley? Was he here?
Yeah, earlier. He was here in the office for about an hour. I don't know what they talked about. Deuce made me get out.
And Deuce left right afterwards?
Oh, half an hour or so. He had to wait to make a phone call first.
I see. Well, if you're smart, you'll forget him, Nicky. I've got a hunch he's not coming back.
Sure. He's gonna go off with that dirty...
Knock it. He's going off because he's in a jam. That's one thing you were right about. And by now, he must know the whole thing is falling apart. I think he'll try to run for it.
I ought to kill that dame.
Why? Why don't you throw away that bottle and forget about him? He's no good, Nicky. You know that, don't you?
Sure, I know it.
Then why are you beating your heart out over him?
You've never been a woman, have you, Mr. Dollar?
Now, here's our star to tell you about the final intriguing episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow, I tag the pitch too late, and a runner gets home. The score? 1-0 in favor of death. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Les Crutchfield, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
May 31st, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Thank this station and support their advertisers. It is their kindness and courtesy that allow us to be with you each and every time you roll around here on your favorite station. If you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. All of our shows are available on demand at classicradio.stream. That's our webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows. Find it on a number of the podcast sites we have listed. You can also learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links, and if you'd like to support us, you can buy me a coffee. The Buy Me a Coffee link at classicradio.stream helps us acquire additional classic radio collections and helps us maintain our distribution channels. That's at classicradio.stream. classicradio.stream. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Tell all your friends the greatest radio shows of all time are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.